What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode with your boy Phrankleen. Um, right. Welcome to another episode. If you're watching this as a playback, thank you for stopping by. If you're online now, don't forget to hit the like button. If you're watching this as a playback, like I said, this is your first time landing on the channel, feel free to look through my playlist, look in the description below, look through my videos, and don't forget to smash that like button. Okay, if you're subscribed, don't forget to hit that bell button. Okay, the bell button, basically you select the all option, so it basically gets you notified when I'm on a live stream like this or when a pre-recorded content is up. Okay, so there we go. What's up, people? What's going on, man? If you can see me, you can hear me. Let's go. Let's get this started. Right. So the story, all right, perhaps broke out yesterday. So it's I'm going to, share my story. Share my screen with you in a moment. So it's basically it's about the UK, illegal migrants being offered a vaccine amnesty. And I read through, the stories. It's on major platforms and stuff. And actually, interestingly, somebody else sent it to me via email. I already had it in queue to talk about today. So I just want us to unpack. And it's an interesting, breaking news that clearly affects the Black community. And so why not? And somebody was saying earlier, will I let people dial in? Of course. So I'm going to talk. Hi, Gail. Hi, everybody. What's going on, man? So I am going to let people dial in, click on the link. Let's talk about this. All right. So come and join the conversation. Let's talk. So, but before I share the link, let me share my screen so that you can see the article. And just give me 1 second. Share screen. Let me pick up that article for you. Right. It's a bit of an interesting story. If you're just joining us, thank you for doing so. All right. Welcome. Don't forget to hit that like button. So says illegal migrants, vaccine amnesty, up to 1.3 million and urged to register for the vaccine jab in drive for herd immunity. Herd immunity basically is what does herd immunity means? It basically talks about, when a sizable portion of the population are deemed to be immune to the ongoing, pandemic, right? So now, with promise, they will face no action from the Home Office. So if you're watching this, if you're not from the UK, the Home Office is basically the department that deals with immigration matters. Okay, so they said here illegal immigrants will be granted an amnesty to come forward for the pandemic jabs. Move hoped to help Britain reach herd immunity and accelerate the end of the lockdown. Estimates put the figure of foreigners with irregular status as high as 1.3 million. I think it's a lot more than that, but of course that's not the point. So they're saying the illegal immigrants will be granted, an amnesty to come forward, for the jabs, according to the papers, right? The unprecedented move is aimed to help Britain reach herd immunity, as I said earlier. Right, let me go to the meat of the story. So the officials, the government officials, right? They insist that, illegal migrants will not will not be able to jump the queue for vaccines and or use the scheme as a way to acquire other rights. So what they're saying there is you wouldn't be able to acquire other rights. Perhaps you won't be able to use that to try to, get your papers. All right. But now they say it will mean only that the Home Office takes no action if they register with a GP, which a GP means general practitioners, the local, medical doctor firms. Healthcare centers, if they register with a GP to be inoculated. No official count exists for the number of foreigners with irregular status, but some estimates put the figure as high as 1.3 million. I believe it's more than that, but I stand to be corrected. So vaccines will be offered to everyone living in the UK free of charge, regardless of immigration status, a government spokesman said last night. Those registered with doctors have been contacted as earliest opportunity and are working closely with partners and external organizations to contact those who are not registered to ensure they are also offered the vaccine. All categories of illegal migrants will be guaranteed they will suffer no repercussions if they come forward, including those who entered Britain clandestinely, such as on boats crossing the channel or in the back of lorries. Is that right? Other categories of irregular migrants will also be covered. For example, overstayers who arrived legitimately as visitors or on short-term visas but failed to leave. Publicity campaigns will be mounted to encourage so-called hard-to-reach groups, including non-English speakers, to have the jab. NHS trusts have been told are to be no immigration status checks on patients who come forward for vaccination. So basically, if you are illegal, if you decide to go to your local hospital and stuff like that, they shouldn't carry out any immigration checks. They should just treat you, give you the vaccination, and off you go. Of course, you have to give your details in the process. But I'm coming. Right, where am I? So once people are in our country, it's all in our interest to contain, the virus. So vaccinating everyone who's turn it is on public health grounds, and the end it will protect everybody. Okay. So the identities of irregular migrants will not be passed on to the police or immigration officers who are responsible for removing those who are here illegally. The migrants will have to wait for their place in the jab schedule set out by the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunization according to age and health risk. It's quite long-winded, but I'm trying to get the meat out. But in the matter of a successive government, okay, that's not the point. Hear this. It will be short-sighted and a wasted opportunity if the government does not now keep thorough records of how many illegal immigrants come forward. That would be absolutely batty. A study by the Pew Research Center found there were between 800,000 and 1.2 million unauthorized immigrants in this country in 2017. GP practices are not required to ask for proof of identity or immigration status when a patient registers. Some may ask for identification, however. For many complex NHS treatments, such as hospital care, the guidance says it is residence-based, which means patients should be asked to prove they are living in the UK lawfully. Right. However, it is thought many illegal migrants are reluctant to register with a doctor for fear they will be reported to immigration officers. All right. So I think that's the end of the article. And of course, being that this was posted on the Daily Mail, there was a lot of anti-immigrants, very disgusting comments, which there's no point giving consideration. So, good people, let's Let's talk about this, man. Okay. I actually think it's a good thing. You and the let me pin your comment. Let me see. I actually think it's a good thing. The numbers of immigrants who will die due to lack of access to adequate health care. Right. This is why look, man, let me tell you this. Look, I get what you're saying, okay? But that's why do you think I brought this conversation? All right. Now, on one hand, if you look at the argument and see what the government is putting forward and suggesting, okay, they are offering this as vaccine amnesty. Now, watch this. If you're walking through your local health centers, right, and you identify yourself um, as being illegal, right, you will get amnesty in that regard, so we can give you the jab. But of course, in the process, you've seen what it's clearly indicated, and I've read multiple other news platforms, which is pretty much the same story. What's been indicated is to use that um, avenue, okay, to gather data. So I know for a fact the government don't gather data just for the fun of it. They must use it. How they use it is a separate conversation, right? They must use it. So what they're even effectively saying is, oh, we give you vaccine amnesty. We want you, it's like a bait, the way I see it. We want you to come forward. Oh, because for the fear of reprisal, so many people, undocumented migrants, wouldn't show up. And as you rightly said, some might genuinely need to get treated and stuff. But if you do go and they gather your data, what's the guarantee? Because an illegal migrant, you really haven't got legs to stand on in terms of immigration, problems and immigration rules and laws and what rules you might have broken, right? And you haven't got legs to stand on. And it's the government. They can switch up on you like that. Okay? So they're going to use this exercise to pretty much gather data, and that means they can bust you anytime. Now, I'm not saying, at the end of the day, anybody watching this, the whatever decisions lie in your hands, but there's no guarantee, because here is what I have a problem with. The government doesn't deem it fit to grant amnesty. I mean, the conservative government have been in power for years now. They don't deem it fit, and I'm not saying anyone should feel entitled, but they don't deem it fit um, to grant amnesty to at least those migrants that have been here, God knows, maybe 10, 15, near 20 years or even more, living in the shadow of the system, right? They don't deem it fit because they don't want to. But we're going to bait you, because it's almost like allow us to use you. Because you know why? And I'm going to correct you one day. You said over 70 million have been vaccinated. That's wrong. It's a few millions. If, according to the government data, the population of Britain is not even up to 70 million. So there is no way 70 million people have been vaccinated in the UK. The population of Britain is not that much. Okay? Let me put the link before I forget. Please, I want people to come and join the conversation. Let's talk, man. The link is on there. Click the link and join the conversation, all right? It's my reasonable submission. It's a bait. It's a bait. Thank you. The UK population is about 66 million. That's right. So there's no way 70 million have been vaccinated. Um, and I think, if I'm correct, the vaccination is in two parts. You get one first, and then they give you a subsequent, a follow-up date for, to go come get the second part. So, because if the government, this is the benefit of granting people amnesty. If they grant you amnesty, right, you're free from ducking and diving, then you can go get your NI, you can get your bank accounts, you can be able to navigate through the system without looking over your shoulder. Then you can go get whatever jobs you're qualified to do. It doesn't matter what you do. It could be window cleaning, for God's sakes. It could be whatever, right? But what I'm effectively saying is you can blend into the society properly, and you can jump on the train and fall asleep without worrying that there might be plainclothes immigration officer that might abruptly stop you on your way home. You can be able to do things like everyone else. You can. My main point is, once being granted amnesty, a bunch of those people will be able to pay taxes into the system, right? So they're saying, because, and here's another thing. Here's another thing. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because everything is well, yeah, excuse me, Mr. Joshua TV. I don't know when you joined us. Of course, this is a vaccine amnesty, not an immigration amnesty. Why do you think I'm talking about it? Vaccine amnesty is basically a term coined by journalists, okay? Nobody said it's immigration amnesty. What I'm effectively talking about is the so-called vaccine amnesty is actually it's actually who's this one, man? Just give me a second, man. Right. So, as I was saying, nobody's saying vaccine amnesty is immigration amnesty. So, what I'm trying to unpack here for you to understand, Mr. Joshua, is the government, in a nutshell. Let's call it spade a spade. We're grown ups here. Let's use our minds. So, the wider population, all right, um, people are not coming forth. They're not coming forward as much as the government would want. So, whether we like it or not, the immigration community, sorry, the immigrants, forgive me, community is there for them to make use of. So, how do we then get them to come out? Because they know you're not stupid. If I was illegal, you can dangle all the carrots in the world. The number one fear on my mind is I might get nabbed and get thrown on the next plane out of the UK. So for fear of reprisal. So we offer you vaccine amnesty. What does that mean? You're free to go into um, um, your nearest health center, and they wouldn't ask you for ID. Just go and register and stuff. But I can assure you, because you know why? For me, for every citizen of this country or permanent resident, let me say, you're on the NHS, you have your NHS number that's unique to you, right? Everyone has got their unique health profiles in the in NHS England's database, right? For example, so if I had to go in and I've got no ID, I'm not legally in the country and stuff. So does that mean that they would create a separate database because they know you have no record? You have nothing, you have no proper record, no standing in the country. So that means they'll probably create a temporary or like a separate database to start populating for these people, which is very easy for them to access anytime and put the door off the hinges and come get you if they want to come and get you. So how do you expect people to, what are the guarantees? And the thing is, an illegal migrant is unable to sit across the table, even show their face, identify themselves publicly, and say, I would like to have a conversation with the government. We need assurances. Can you put this in writing? Can we have this as a legally binding document that should I come out, you're not going to do X, Y, Z? It's basically the government sort of dangling the carrot and saying, if you come out, if you identify yourselves, if you expose yourselves, oh, we're not going to do X, Y, Z. How do you know? How do you know? They can actually do it. They can leave you alone for like 12 months, and then 12, 13 months after, they start bombarding you. They just break them into local areas. Now they have the data. Central London, Southeast London, West London, Manchester, Leeds, Reading. They have the data now. They can bombard you. They can remove you in the middle of the night when everyone's sleeping. They can do that easily. Let me get this lady in. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right, thanks.
I really enjoy your show and I have time to watch it. Sometimes it's very informative. Thank you for the good work.
Thank you. So what do you think?
I think the whole thing is a hoax because at the end of the day, these people, you kind of like touch base on what I was about to say.
Yeah,
Most
go
of
on.
most of the illegal immigrants in the UK, I live in the States. So
Right.
it's basically the similar system. Everyone in the state have a social security number where they can trace you by your social security number once they punch it in. So now take it for example that these people don't have no form of documentation, no identification number, no nothing to show that they live in the UK because they literally live in underground. Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
now you just go show up in those locations and say, oh, here I am. I want an amnesty just so I'll be able to have some form of access to what the facilities are you give out to other people who are legally here. And then now, not only you are at the risk of being deported, but what are the other risks as well that they might use you as a guinea pig to do experiments on you on with some of these vaccines, which they're not even sure if it's going to be able to kill coronavirus or whatnot. Because I don't know how true the video is, but there's a video that was going around on YouTube and WhatsApp and all that, where this white doctor with a white robe was saying that they want to go to Africa and eliminate Africans with the vaccine because they are not important, they're not relevant, they're stupid,
Yeah,
and
but
blah blah
you
blah.
know what? You know what? I've seen. Let me say. Sorry to cut you. Let me say this. Right. There
Mhm,
are plethora of videos that come out every day, and I know
mhm,
where you're going with this. But let's even leave that on the shelf, because sometimes I watch some things. You have your feelings. Your brain goes to work. Sometimes you don't know what is what. Okay. But let's
right.
focus on, like, what, because I was enjoying what you were saying. Let's focus on, because the reason why I'm talking about this, okay, if anyone, particularly within the black community and stuff, and they are my own kind, and again, I'm not here saying because somebody is illegal, they are entitled, to be given X, Y, Z, but
Right.
I am looking at the avenue that the government has opened themselves by saying, hey, if you're hiding over there, come out, come and register. We would want you to. So basically, the vaccination amnesty is pretty much, if you come and put your hands up and just come register, give us your name, date of birth, and whatever. We're not going to ask you for ID. We just need to, give you. It's like they need them to complete the numbers.
Yeah, yeah. And also by you coming out, you are at risk of giving your location where you live, like you were saying. So it makes it easy for them to just bust you out in the middle of the night and grab you. And basically, if you disappear, or whether they deport you or not, or whatever they do to you, nobody will be able to really know unless the people that you are around in your circle, because there's nothing to prove that you are like to show that you are there. Like in America, if someone go missing, the person have a green card or they are like a citizen, they have social security, they'll be able to do investigation to know, okay, the last place he worked was at McDonald's, or was at this place or that place. But it's a very tricky and very sensitive thing. I don't think it's a good idea. If you are there quietly working and life is comfortable for you, I just feel like they should just stay put and observe and see what this amnesty thing is going to, what is it about? And I'm sure some people are going to come out and try to do it. But
No,
me,
definitely.
yeah,
Some people will.
yeah,
Some will, some will. But the whole premise of us having this conversation is um because it's in the public domain, all right? So
yeah,
it's been read by hundreds of thousands, if not millions already. It's
right,
in mainstream media and all that.
right.
And I was reading it and I thought, that's because
It's a
I
setup.
personally.
I feel like it's a setup. It's a setup to bring these people out so they can get them.
Exactly. So,
And
so just to be clear, this is not even about bashing the pandemic vaccination. That's not what this conversation is about. I am
no,
I am concerned about our people that are
yeah,
living in the shadow of the
yeah,
system. So it's like saying there's hook and line, and then you put a worm on a hook, and then you dangle it
right,
into the water, and then the
right.
fish sees it, latches onto the hook, and then you.
You zoom it out. Yeah, that's what
So
this
that
whole thing is
that's,
about.
that's exactly what I am. Because some might say, "Oh, well, because of herd immunity." Yeah, and I'm not saying, because even apart from the pandemic itself, I remember a couple of years ago, I knew a gentleman that he was diabetic, right? And
Hmm.
it started affecting his leg, his left leg. He had some sore and all that. He urgently needed medical attention, right? Like he had
Hmm.
like wounds and all that. And but because of the fear of reprisal, he couldn't go to the clinic. And I remember looking at this man and I thought, man, he was in pain, you know, and everything, anyone around him was like, just go and try, they're not going to chase you away. They know you need help. The only thing in that man's head is they're going to ask me to come in. And because he knows that, like if you go to the hospital now, even if you go through the A&E, they bring you in on a stretcher. The first thing they do is your name, your date of birth, right?
Yeah, yeah,
They type that into the database and it pulls
yeah,
you up.
yeah,
So
yeah.
if you show up and then you're unable to identify who you are, and they would know instantly anyway, they would know that, oh,
Of
okay.
course.
And what do they do? And in fact, I remember a lady that works in the hospital that told me, said, they have, this is not even, like when people are illegal, right? If one of
Yeah,
these officials tells on you, or maybe they ring immigration, if we are having the conversation as outsiders, right? We
yeah,
get angry, which is understandable. We say, oh, they called the immigration. But because of the nature of your job, you are legally obliged to notify the relevant department, because should they then do audit trail and it traces back to you and say, oh, hang on,
yeah.
such and such person came to access the medical services or whatnot on so
Hmm.
date, it was you that treated them, that did XYZ, why didn't you do XYZ? It might even end up costing you your job or
Your
getting
job,
prosecuted.
right?
So I can understand. I was having this conversation with someone who said her brother was ill. He went into a hospital. This was actually a Nigerian lady. This is interesting. She told me that her husband, her brother went to the hospital and she had warned him, but he was having internal issues, right? He had to go. So he went in and at the desk, even though they wanted to bring him in straight away, they were asking for his details, and then they soon realized that they didn't have him in the NHS database. So she said it was a Nigerian lady who's like one of the senior nurses who was saying, sir, what's your name? What's your full middle? Do you have any middle name? They were trying to pull up his details. So the guy was like, I'm not, do you have any chest number? No, I don't have a, do you have a, come on, man. They knew, right?
Yeah.
But she was standing there with her colleagues. She had to do the needful. So they took him
Oh,
in, they treated him, but whilst he was being attended to, they notified,
they're doing some other thing in the background.
they
So by the
waited
time
for
you
him.
come out, you're ready to be arrested.
Thank you. They waited for him to get a reasonable amount of treatment and stuff, and then a couple of days to get in his checkout. Police came in to have a chat with him at the bedside and said, you know, da 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 da. You're not, you know, when? How did you get into it? He knew straight away. Boom, and they made sure that it was reasonable, well enough. But before he checked out, they had gone to his home address. I don't know how they found through his jackets, whatever things he had on him. They had found his house. They had rummaged through the house. They found his expired passport. And then the long and short was they removed the brother from the UK. These happens all the time. You see
But
what I'm
Frank,
saying?
this is my question. I don't mean to cut you off. So
No, no, no. Go on, go on.
why um vaccine amnesty? Why didn't they give this prior to the pandemic if they really want to help this immigrant? Or why didn't they say immigration amnesty or something that can legally give them this confidence that, okay, I'm not just going to be a guinea pig for the vaccine and then give me 10 days access to the mall without being caught by a police officer. Why didn't they just do this before the pandemic or call it something else that is
They,
not
they,
too obvious?
they.
Vaccine amnesty.
Thank you. That's actually the brunt of, you know, my argument. And in a nutshell, they don't want to give immigration amnesty. I think that's as clear as daylight. They
Yeah.
don't want to give that. In fact, if you read in the article, the government representative said these vaccine amnesty, they're basically saying in a nutshell, it's just purely so that, okay, we're not going to bother you as long as you give us in exchange for you coming to help us populate our data. You're going to give us your personal details. We're not going to bother you, as they've said. And but that doesn't mean that you'll be able to benefit from, you know, anything else like
Yes.
any other citizen in the country.
Yes.
So that tells you.
Let me
Somebody
give you a
said,
perfect example. I've
yeah, go
been
on.
in the States. I've been in the state for 20 years and I've been a citizen for 12 years.
Right,
And I came in here legally with my green card and my passport ready
right,
for me to go. Yeah. So last month, my husband and I came in contact with someone, a church member, a friend of ours from church that had COVID. So unfortunately, we contracted the COVID. Yeah. And we were really, really concerned because we have children in the house and it's just us. It's kind of hard to isolate yourself in the house with kids
yeah,
and you're the main chef in the house. You know how that goes in the African home.
yeah.
So next thing we know, the next day I started getting calls from the Department of Health, constant phone calls asking me, these people have no emotion, they have no type of concern about how you're faring. First of all, they don't even ask you how you're doing, how you're feeling. I'm saying this to tie it in with people that work for the government and immigration to just show you how sometimes they can just come out to be so funny when they're trying to get information and add you into data. So they will call me, we heard you have COVID. We heard you contracted it from someone. You got the test, you tested positive and all that. And I was like, and so where are you taking this? First of all, you should call and say, how are you doing today? How are you feeling? Is your family okay? Are you guys needing anything? None of that, but you wanted to just get information. You asking me my date of birth, my social security, my address, and the date I got evicted, how many people were around me. I said, I'm sorry, ma'am. I have the right to withhold this information because all you're trying to do here is to add me to your statistics of numbers of people that have COVID in the state and
Yeah.
put me in your COVID data, and I'm not going to be one of them. And she got angry. She's like, I'm gonna keep calling until I get the information. I was like, no, you're not. Block. I blocked her. Up to this day, I never received a call from her. So what I'm trying to say here is, it's the same way immigration works. These people, some of them are they're psychologically trained to know how to
Yeah,
deal with humans.
they're professionals. They're well trained. Yeah.
Yeah, they know how to manipulate the brain, the mind of humans, and they know what these people want. So they can come up with any scheme to make it seem like we are for you. We're trying to help you here. But if you read the article and what you're trying to say, there's no really concrete security for these people. All they're trying to do is probably trying to know, okay, like you're saying, I don't live in England, but let's say now where I'm living in Little Rock, yeah, you have 20 people there that don't have paper. They came and got the vaccine. Now, if you go to Memphis or downtown Little Rock or Conway, you have 50 people there who are they are not legally here. So they know the places to target. It makes it easy for them. It just makes their job very easy. And now you can get the vaccine for free and be deported to your country and not worried about contracting COVID. But yet now what? You're no longer in UK. You're lost. Yeah. So I think the whole thing here is the people need to use wisdom. And if you're a Christian, pray, trust God for direction. Because I know if God made a way for you to be there, he will make. I have a friend who lived in America for 10 years before he got his green card. 10 years.
Some leave a lot more than that.
Yeah. So I think that's just what I have to say. And I really appreciate you that you brought this to the open for us Africans to hear and also share to some of our friends and neighbors and families who are in similar situations so they can be aware. Because you have some illegal immigrants who might not be, who didn't go to school. So they probably don't know this article is out there. Or they will not put stuff like this on the news. Yeah. So they can just go, oh, this is an opportunity. Fuck, let me go get this and I'll be okay. This is what I've been praying for all these years. But no, it's a trap. It's a trap. I see this as a big scheme. They're not for the people. They don't have the interest of the people. They're just finding a way to get them out of their country. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then another way is they don't have no way to track them. So these people are at risk of spreading COVID. So let's find a way to get them under lock and key.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Before I bring you on House of Coffee, I want to address this pinned message on the screen. The UK government knows that undocumented people might serve as a pool of the pandemic virus and pose a threat to the general public if they are not vaccinated. Sit tight. You know what? You make a valid point, okay? You made a valid point. But you see, the premise of this show is I'm interested in the plight of people because as far as I'm concerned, yeah, what you've said about the pandemic, you're right, but let's focus on the fact that somebody is illegal doesn't mean their human rights should be obliterated, be crushed, or violated. Do you understand me? I am not suggesting that they should be given automatic rights or anything like that. But what we are concerned about is being asked to come out of the shadows. Are you sure that this is not a bait? Do you get why I've opened this channel so we can have conversations? So it's not a case of, because let me tell you, we also have to be careful how we approach this. Sometimes some people are being selfish, unbeknown to them, because if you are a permanent resident or you're a citizen, your assessment of things might be cut and dry, black and white, very straightforward. Oh yeah, why shouldn't you do this? Do this, do this. But for someone who lives in the shadow of the system, who has to look over their shoulders every day, who live in a blind panic, right? It's a totally different state of mind, okay? And we can't, it'd be absolutely selfish for us to just put our noses up and hold on to our cups of coffee and tea and say, this ain't got nothing to do with me, because why? I believe I'm sorted. I'm not wired like that. That's why we're having this conversation. House of Coffee, my person. What's good?
Hi, Phrankleen. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So first of all, I want to really sympathize with our brothers and sisters that obviously are immigrants in this country or any other country. It's very hard, and it is even more harder when you are sick or you have any health conditions and you're not able to access health like you should do. But what having read all through the comments, it's
Yeah.
only a naive person that would say that, oh, this is not a bait. Because if you've been in England for a while, you will know that there is nothing free in England, and they don't do things just for doing its sake. There is always a reason behind it. Okay.
Absolutely.
So the truth is that both the NHS and the social services are required to ask for your identification anytime they're going to provide any health or whatever for you at all. It is a requirement. Now in the UK, it is a legal requirement. You're required to provide a form of identification. So saying to
Yes.
you that, oh, you come and collect vaccine for free, we are not going to collect your data, or we might collect the data, but we might not use it. It's a lie. If they don't use it now, they are going to use it in the future. So the question is, how do we undo this? Because we have some of our brothers or sisters that are dying silently in the house. So what do we do about it?
I agree.
How do we handle this? Because they still need to access care. They still need to access health. How can we that are in that sector help them? What do we do to help them? Because you necessarily don't have to go to hospitals. So these are the things that we're supposed to be discussing. How do we help? What are we to do? Because you're saying that, oh yeah, you can go there and collect vaccine. Or go there and collect vaccine. They'll give you the vaccine. That's not a problem. And you will come back home thinking that everything is okay. But in a few months' time, my dear, you are going to be singing in Nigeria or wherever it is that you come from.
So 1 second before you carry on. There's a comment on the screen by Sarah said. Sarah said, this is what the amnesty is, the fact they won't require ID. Sarah, I'm not sure when you joined us. This is what we've been banging on about. It's the government. Okay. Where is the assurance? You see, it's not enough that the government says, oh yeah, give us your data. Yeah, just come and give us your data. You know, we're not going to bother you. Just give us your data, and then you get the vaccine and you bugger off, right? What is the guarantee that 2 months later they're not going to put your door off the hinges and pick you up in the middle of the night, slap you on the next available flight out of England? And you know what's even interesting? Some might argue, should that happen, that yep, you cannot blame the government because those people, in fact, broke UK's immigration rules. And you know what? To be fair, to be honest,
they're right. Yeah.
We might say, yeah, absolutely. But
yeah,
as a human being sat in this chair, I am pro-black. I'm pro-human. I'm pro-black first. I love my folks. Okay. Somebody who is empathetic naturally, okay, we can put all those legal jargon on the shelf, and because it would tear me apart to wake up tomorrow morning and realize that my people have been scooped up in droves and slapped on the plane, thrown like cattle, and bang, back to where they came from. Okay, that's not to say if you go back to the motherland, they wouldn't make headway in life. But you do understand, some might not have anything to fall back upon and stuff like that. Loads of complexities and that. And I'll tell you something. Let me digress. I'm sure House of Coffee knows this. You know, during the Grenfell Tower, the fire outbreak. Yeah. Now, something happened that kind of, I want to put like side by side, juxtaposed with this particular topic. I remember Theresa May was the prime minister then. And I remember at the time that there were conflicting data in terms of the number of people that were in the block of flats, the tower of flats at the time of the fire outbreak. Yeah. I remember like on the ground level speaking to people who actually grew up in that estate, some of which who had family members in that, in the block of flats and stuff like that. Yeah. Who basically had a lot to say that conflicted with what the government rolled out. But then, of course, everyone was angry. There was a lot of blood boiling, emotions boiling. Some said the government lied about the data. I think eventually, if I'm correct, memory serves me well, I think the government said it was about 70-something people in that building at the time of the fire, people that died, I think. Now, later on down the line, I then realized that what I suspect is the data, the government might know, and I'm talking hypothetically here, that, say, for example, 150 people died. But verifiable details of people is actually 75 or 73. So they take out those data and then they show that to the general public. Because you know why?
Yes.
Okay, here is a pile of human bodies that have been burnt. But we can't identify them. There are no records for them. There's no data.
That's true. Yeah.
Because there are numerous people that live in the shadow of the system. So it would then turn to suppressing that data. Do you know what? Some might say, oh, it's unfair, but really though, how do they effectively account for them? So again, it also serves, whilst as humans, nobody's life deserves to be suppressed or treated less favorably than the other. But it basically provided a cop-out for the government in terms of responsibility, because if you live in the shadow of the system, we have no records and stuff, it's very easy for any government, to be able to suppress that data. And because the government can be held accountable, Mr. Phrankleen Buttersmith, Mr. Phrankleen, Mrs. Laura Williams of such and such address, you have your medical records, data, they can use that to trace you, they can fish you out. The government can be held accountable that, oh, you were in that building, flat 24, when the fire broke out. By the time they do connect the dots with the health department and stuff, that body, that person can be accounted for.
That's right. Yeah.
Someone who's a clandestine person who came off the back of a lorry, who they have no record of, even if the body is there, they would rather conceal that body and go do mass burial somewhere.
Exactly.
And then the person's family, more than likely, they live miles away from the shores of the UK. They would have to bear the pain for the rest of their years. These are some of the facts that are out there. So, and that's not me trying to point, fingers at the, saying the government has done anything bad or anything like that. But I'm just trying to have a logical, analysis. Go on, House of Cafe. Go on.
Yes. So I wanted to say that, just to buttress your point, for those that work in this country, they will know that they usually use a phrase, which is cover your back, cover yourself. What does that mean? So you always fill in paperwork. What do you think paperwork is for? It's to cover your tracks. So governments will cover their tracks in any way they can. It's part of your paperwork to make sure that any person that comes to the services to access that services, you ask them for their identifications. So I'll give you an example. 2 years ago, I had to access the NHS. So I had to go out of my borough because the doctor has referred me out of my borough to another borough as an outpatient. So I got there, they were very nice to me and they attended to me, and I had everything that I had to do my surgery, came back home, everything was fine. Boom, 3 days later, Phrankleen, 3 days later, a letter came from my post and it was, oh, Miss so, can you confirm that you are a British citizen in this country? And can you send us your passport details in order to confirm that? If not, you will have to pay for the care services you access 3 days before. So you must be joking to think that, oh, they don't collect any data, everything will be all right. No, they will find you out. Oh, this is UK. They will find you out. They don't joke with their money. They will find you out. Whatever way they will find you out. So it's either you've made up your mind that, okay, as I'm going, I'm ready to pack my bags. Whatever happens, I'll access the healthcare. And if peradventure they come tomorrow to knock my door, I'm ready to go home. Is either that, or you sit down in your house, JJ, and continue to drink your agbo. But that there's nothing that is free in UK. Let's not do those nonsense. There's nothing that is free in this UK. So that's just
if you paid attention to, this is what I'm looking at some people's comments, Some people respectfully, some people don't get it, and everyone is entitled to their opinion. Sometimes this is what I was saying earlier. We're wired differently. Okay, some people are like, for God's sakes, man, if the government says don't show ID, just go and just get it done and over with. It doesn't work like that. They put something in that article and said, even though the government have said they shouldn't ask for IDs, however, some clinics might ask. So what does that say?
Exactly. No, not everybody is going to follow the law, because each company has their own policies and regulations. Simple. They have their own policies and procedures.
And also, all of these moves are heavily politicized. What I also need people to understand is, it's like, you see, when a government, whosoever is in power, politics is a dirty game. It comes with the territory. It's not aimed at a particular set of individuals, right? So it's like you're playing a game. Okay, so we give them this move and make this move.
And for the next election, we can say yes.
We give them this. We use this to get that. We hold this back to force them to do this. We do this to make ourselves look good, right? We do this to do that. So the bait
is always a give and take.
Exactly. So if you go to a particular clinic and they say, oh, excuse me, that's fine, but we need to still see an ID though. You're a thin line away from throwing tantrums. Yes, just imagine in the reception of a local healthcare center. Yes, I'm illegal, I have no papers, but the government said I can come and... Whoa, holy smokes.
They press that button.
They might even use that as an excuse to just quickly call the local support police.
You are being aggressive.
This gentleman is actually being aggressive and intimidating, threatening stuff. We're not saying, we're not saying, we just asked him for an ID. We're not, of course, we're not.
Exactly.
And then the police, their heart comes on, and then they say, if you want to step outside to have a chat. And the rest is history from that point. Because
the police in Lagos.
The police are not nice like that, man. They're not nice. They're not like that.
They are doing their job, frankly. What can we say?
Oh yeah, because as soon as they see you, their eyeballs will go up. Somebody said, Phrankleen, so what do you propose? What I'm proposing, is, and I know,
to be wise.
No, I'm not even saying for people. I'm not going to suggest for anyone to duck and dive and all that. But I think, if at all, the government would want people, this is what I think in my head, to come out and take this seriously. Why can't, and if they know that they genuinely do not have any sinister intentions, malicious intentions down the line, as they've said, there should be some kind of a legal binding document that the government put their signature of the particular department next to and say, this is a legally binding document that you can use should your human rights be violated in the process. We said, if they are genuinely fixated on, effectively dealing with the pandemic, okay, we want you to come out. We want you to come and get XYZ. Okay, and somebody says, okay, phew, I haven't got this, but I'm willing to take a leap of faith. If there's a legal kind of commitment, a legally binding document where the government would say, this person is given an immunity deal or immunity offer whereby not at any point will they be subjected to XYZ, unlawful, unfair treatments, then I think that will, that will give people that confidence. Because if you provide me with, it's like everything else. That why do you think you want to buy a house? You want to go buy a car? There are legally binding documents. You take a loan. It basically states the terms. Like, okay, for the purposes of these particular thing, these are the terms, and we are giving you our word that it's like a sort of incorporating an immunity deal. whereby you are not going to be arrested or be subjected to some kind of malicious, type vendetta, or whether we're going to use this to then unscrupulously remove you down the line, blah, 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 blah. As we've said, for the purposes of this, and that data is not going to be, if the government is able to commit to that, I can assure you that people will come out in droves.
Yeah.
But the question is, will the government do that?
Nah, I don't think so. That would be in another word. Maybe when we come back. Well, so I mean, it's just we putting it out there. If you want to go, please do feel free to go, but just know that there might be consequences for your action. We're just saying.
Of course,
I'm just ready.
The job of a government, I acknowledge, is it's not a walk in the park. It comes with layers of complexities. The party in power, they have opposition parties who are constantly bickering and picking on them, and it's a very difficult job. I acknowledge that.
Very.
But But at the same time, I am concerned about the plight of my people, which is why we're having this conversation. All right.
Yes.
I don't think any one of us, any reasonable black person watching this, you would wake up and hear that your people are being, removed or something like that. Except if somebody who has committed some serious crime and they've really posed a major threat to the wider, community, and they have to leave, then fair enough. But for people to then be cleared out, we should be concerned.
Very concerned indeed. Frankly, there was a story that was going about last month about a Ghanaian guy that obviously he was an immigrant in this country, and he had COVID and had saved 36,000 grand. I mean, how many years would this take to save 36,000 grand with 3 jobs?
What happened?
He had COVID, and obviously because he was an immigrant, he couldn't go to the NHS to say that I want to access your service. So he actually was self-medicating in the house there. Unfortunately, it got really worse for him and he passed away. So obviously his neighbors in the house called the police to say that, oh, this guy has passed away. They came, and eventually, whilst they were looking in his things, they found 36,000 grand under his bed. And nobody to claim that money. There is no next of kin. And even if there is next of kin, you know how they do. They will tell you to prove this, prove that. Obviously, he doesn't have papers to work in this country, so he was doing it illegally. How are you going to claim such one? So, I mean, these are the things.
They don't believe that he's paid the right taxes or that money has been earned unlawfully. So long and short is money goes into the pocket of the state. Yes or no?
Simple. Absolutely. Yes, 100%. You know how many money they are getting from us every year? How many people are dying in this country as an immigrant because they don't have anything? And I mean, the truth is this. These are the realities of our lives. So we need to start sitting and thinking that what is the best solution, because there are always going to be immigrants in this country. There are people that will always, no matter what we say, they will always stoop into this country or anywhere else in Europe every damn year. They would not sit down in their own country and find something else to do. They will always come, which is fine. So what do we do going forward? Because these things exist. They exist. It's not just about vaccine. These things exist. I mean, for me as a citizen in this country, I don't even have 36,000 grand. Goodness me, that guy has been working 3 jobs, 3 whole jobs, all wasted just like that. So these are the realities of life, honestly. We need to do better. Thank you, Phrankleen.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Nice one. Odudua, are you there?
Yeah. Hello, Phrankleen. How you doing?
Hello, brother. What's good?
Yeah. I sort of have a slightly different perspective from what House of Coffee has shared. I mean, I think quite brilliant points have been raised. I'll come at it from this angle. Okay. I mean, I'm an NHS doctor. I've been a doctor here for quite a number of years.
Great.
I mean, I would say,
on the show.
Thanks. So, number one, the fact is there is increased mortality among the BME population, and even among that subdivision, Black males, and I would emphasize again, Black males have the highest mortality. Okay, so unfortunately,
why is that then? Is there anything
So we
unique
don't
to
know.
black?
No, so we don't know. I mean, it's a new virus. I mean, anyone that says they know everything is lying. So the information is evolving. A lot of data is retrospective. So we're going to look back, you know, in a few years' time and make deductions. Oh, probably this is responsible, that is responsible. I mean, we do know, just looking broadly, it seems people back on the motherland don't seem to have as high a mortality as those black folks here. The reasons why we're not sure, so many theories, maybe sunshine, vitamin D, we don't know whether, so many theories. That's by the way. But it's a fact that, more black people are dying of this virus. That's just a fact.
Right.
Being a male of whatever race is the higher risk factor. A lot of our people also have sort of undiagnosed hypertension, diabetes, and being a bit on the plus size. So these are all things that just puts a lot of us at risk. And generally a lot of folks don't take care of their health, multiple jobs, stressed back and forth. We get that. Now, for me, the way I see this is I actually think that this whole amnesty thing can be a blessing in disguise. And just hear me out.
Yeah, go on, go on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very, very, very difficult for any government post-COVID to deport anyone who's had COVID or has had to have vaccine. First of all, there are so many long-term complications of this COVID we're not even sure of. And the reason why I don't want to show my face is, because of the nature of the job. I actually think
It's fine.
a lot of
It's
people,
absolutely fine.
yeah,
Go on.
a lot of people might actually have grounds to claim asylum based on the fallout of the COVID. So that's one. I would think, I mean, people have to make individual choices and decisions on their own. But I would think if you're high risk, I mean, most of the jobs people would do will be, jobs with high risk. So a lot of people would have to do jobs where they're exposed. Very few people will be able to work at home, sort of high flying, jobs where you can sit in front of the computer and command a lot of money. People have to,
Right.
work hard, face patients, frontline stuff, or working taxis, deliveries. So you have to, you will be at risk, unfortunately. So you sort of have to weigh the risk versus the benefits. I think that if you fall into this high risk, you are fifth decade, sixth decade, a little bit of blood pressure, and you're illegal, you sort of have to wing it and take this vaccine. To be quite honest, it will be a bit of a risk to catch the disease and die now when there seems to be something that can reduce your risk of severity. That's my thinking. That's one. The other thing, because I tried noting it down when House of Kathy mentioned, is that well, when you go into hospital, they might be able to trace you. So by law now, Franklin. So by law now, anything done that doesn't require hospital admission, they don't need to have your details. So you can actually come in and book in a hospital in A&E and say you don't have an NHS number. You won't be driven back. However, if you need to be admitted into the hospital, so you might need surgery, admission for antibiotics, you need to have a procedure. Yes, that one, they will chase you. In fact, there's a team that will chase you. Probably those are the ones that are called House of Curfew. They didn't have all the right information. But if you're going to go for, maybe somebody, collapse, go to A&E, you register. I don't have NHS number. They will generate a hospital number for you. I mean, people will put an address. I'll put it that way. I wouldn't want to say anything beyond that. People will put an address, and it might be a bit difficult to trace them. This happens. Now, I think my thoughts are this. I think that if you are at high risk, I think you should, except you've got other reservations or you believe other reasons for not taking the vaccine, my thoughts would be to get the vaccine. I think it will be very, very difficult for you to be deported based on the vaccine alone. And of course, people who've been, who've had, quite a tortuous journey to getting legal status, they probably would have a way to move around. That's my point. I think it will be a bit difficult for you to say we're waiting for government to give us a legal document that they wouldn't chase us. And if the government is not forthcoming, then I wouldn't take the vaccine. A lot of people have kids, the kids will go to school, and there'll be this cycle. And once a lot of people, it will just keep spreading. Kids might come in contact with other kids in school, bring it home.
Bro,
The kids at home might also give it others.
I want you to carry on, but let me say something quickly. You've made very, very, very powerful points, which I appreciate. But you see, given governmental track record in dealing with immigrants, none of us here is oblivious of that fact. When it comes to, there was a ruling at some point. I think, was it during the course of the first lockdown or shortly after the first lockdown or something? I'll have to double check, where there was a high court ruling, I think in the administrative courts, against the Home Office about the unlawful removal of quite a lot of immigrants. I'm trying to make a point here. Okay, let's put the pandemic on the shelf for a moment. Now, whereby the premise of that lawsuit was basically say, for example, somebody was going through the legal process, trying to challenge whatever relevant immigration, issues they were fighting and stuff. By law, regardless of the final outcome, of your appeals or you going through the tribunal and stuff, in pursuant to right to fair trial, you have the right to a fair trial. That's not even debatable. Even a murderer, if you're going to stand in the Crown Court, you will be heard, you will be allowed to be represented. In instances, you'll be allowed legal aid, you will be heard to put your cases forward. Of course, they will then eventually pin you as being the murderer, and then they send you down in accordance with the law. So my point is, it was uncovered that there were evidences, shocking evidences of, numerous immigrants whereby the due process that they should have enjoyed was abruptly curtailed by the Home Office. They were unjustly removed from the UK, all because the Home Office have one target. They desperately want to get the immigration down.
Numbers. Yes.
They need, thank you. They need numbers. They need to get the numbers down. So you know what, man? There's 200 people here who are still waiting for court dates. The judges are busy. They're bombarded with all, plethora of cases. This guy, his next hearing is maybe in the month of May. What? This is February. Now, man, they kind of tailgate the guy to his address by the middle of February or something. Boom! Remove him at 3 a.m. in the morning when you and I are fast asleep. Before everyone could say Robinson Crusoe, bang, that person is on the soil of Africa, right? They haven't got resources, they haven't got money to be able to fight. And I can assure you, on a personal note, I try to keep it 100 on air. I have personally spoken to 2 persons. I remember going on a trip to Nigeria one time, and I bumped into a gentleman, right? And we just got talking. And I realized the man had so much knowledge about London, right? He was talking about, parts of London. I said, sir, you lived in the UK before, and he smiled. So when I pressed him further, he explained to me how he was unlawfully removed. So everything he did, it was staggering. But, he's accepted his fate because, one, he hasn't got money to fight. He's just basically just forging on with life. And there are some people that in whatsoever country, I heard the story of a man who they claim allegedly was violated in the lockup places and was maltreated on the plane home. He took his own life. Nobody's looking at those data. Nobody cares.
I mean, it's happened, even with the Windrush scandal. So it's happened. But what I'm saying is this. I'm looking at it from a different perspective.
So you can understand why people are apprehensive.
Definitely.
You can understand why I brought this conversation.
Completely understood. Even in the whole discussion of vaccine acceptance by minorities, I completely understand why people are. We're not going into that today, but I completely understand. Looking at history, and a lot of illegal things has happened. Definitely, like I said, these guys are down for numbers. We need to reduce this, and whoever is caught in the net out. But I think this is going to be slightly different. Now, the numbers of people that are undocumented is quite large. We don't have, people even say in the hundreds of thousands, or at least high tens of thousands. So it's quite a number of people. And I think a lot of people have been here, living, they've been here illegally, but they are living lawfully. And the only
Yes,
crime
yes,
is that they're illegal and they've been here for years. So I think it's going to
yes.
be difficult to get rid of all those tens of thousands. And that's why I think one has to look at it individual, case by case basis. If someone is here, he's not had criminal record, he's only just illegal, he's doing his work, raising a family, I think you have to wing it. You can't take the chance of getting the COVID and possibly dying, and then family losing breadwinner, parent, and kids losing parents. It's going to be very difficult. The deportation is actually difficult when there are tentacles. That's my own, speaking with lawyers and the people I know. If you've got tentacles, people with kids, with families, it's a bit difficult to remove those people. If you're a younger guy, alone, no tentacles, no foothold, it might be a bit easier to remove such people. So I think you have to look at it case by case. My own advice, from a medical standpoint, is I think people shouldn't be scared of deportation alone. Weigh your risk, weigh your individual circumstances. I think if there's a chance that you might be protected, at least for most of the vaccines we have, there's a 95% chance that you will, have a milder form of the disease if you get in touch. Looking at your job, if you're going to be at high risk, you're doing taxi, doing something that will be, people facing. I think people have to take these chances rather than being scared. Definitely, the government is unscrupulous. They can trace you in years to come. Nobody doubts that. They've done it before. They will keep doing it. But what other options do we have? If we're waiting for a legal document from the government, it won't happen. At least not with the conservatives.
I mean,
It will not. It will
that
not
was
happen.
just. I know. To be fair, you know what? That was just me. I mean, if I'm being honest with you, I mean, that's why I put that sort of like a disclaimer, right? That look, man, I know it myself. Because if you say to me, frankly, do you really think, like, a certain document, it would be nice to have, but I know that it's not going to happen. For the government to say a specific document where you can pin us to the corner in black and white, should we step out of line, right? But
Yeah.
you see, like, I've pinned something on here in line with what you said earlier. Somebody said on this, so if you can see the screen, it might be difficult to deport everyone, which does not mean they won't try hard. They will be successful with a lot. Now, that right there drives home my point. See, you know what you said, for example, people with family ties. So let's say, for example, there's a family, they have 2 children, husband and wife, blah, blah, blah. Because of, that family unit, of course, it will evidently, understandably pose some kind of complexity in terms of wanting to uproot, that's not to say they don't deport
They
families.
won't
They've
try.
done
Yeah,
it.
they will try. Yeah, they will
But
try.
of course, as you say, if it was just maybe boyfriend and girlfriend, there are no kids involved, or say, like you said, an individual, I'm just by myself, it might be easy for them to say, boy, throw you on the next flight, bang, you're gone, right? But if there are 500 that are being subjected to the unfair removal, and they were successful in carving out at least 200, 150, 180, we should be concerned.
Yeah.
Do you see?
And
I'm looking at
just one last thing, Phrankleen. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Just one last thing, Phrankleen. So, in line with this, so prior to now, if people came in, I mean, a lot of professionals come in on tier 2 visa, and then you translate.
Yes.
So prior to now, people who came in on tier 2 visa, I think you probably need about 5-6 years to get your citizenship. If that person who was the breadwinner, either the wife or the husband, came in, brought the family, if they died, the family was sent home. Now with COVID, is happened that one of our colleagues, he passed away. And of course, they were scared that they were going to say, and people wrote petition. Do you know that this has made the government change their policy such that, I mean, it's not a good reason to change the policy, but I'm just saying that, a lot of things have happened with this COVID. So now, if a healthcare worker or a frontline or even care home staff, if they die and they've not, gotten their ILR or citizenship, the government cannot deport the family. They have to be given permanent residence status immediately on notification of the death of that initial breadwinner who had the immigration status in the country.
So those are cases that they would say on compassionate grounds.
So before they sent them packing before COVID came. They, even if they were like 3-4 years, if the person that owns the visa died, they get out of the country. The family has to relocate back. But now it's now been made a rule because people are like, all right, healthcare workers have died, care workers have died because of COVID, and you want to send them back. So that's what I'm saying, that this whole COVID thing might be a blessing in disguise as regards this situation, which is why I think people should not, based on the fear of deportation, run away from potentially life-saving, treatment or intervention.
One last thing
use your head.
One last thing before you go. So, what do you think? What? I mean, I love your point of view and I appreciate your time and stuff. But so, vaccine amnesty, they coined that term. It's easy for the government to just give amnesty, immigration amnesty, don't you think? So if people then go ahead, the same people go ahead, get the vaccine and whatnot, and then they can carry on working and they stop looking over their shoulders and contribute positively in terms of tax and whatnot to the wider community. But the government, they have their reservations. Whatever reasons, they don't want to give amnesty. They don't. I mean, I'm not a political person, right? I stopped voting years ago. But when I used to, I voted for Labour Party. But I don't think the Conservative government.
No, they won't. They won't.
They are not aligned with the idea of amnesty. I think the last time it happened was under the Labour Party, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So why don't
that
you
was during Tony Blair. So it would have been easier. And let's see, a lot of the Labour MPs and a lot of BME people are pushing for it. That it might be easier to grant people amnesty so that there's no fear of them not coming out. So something good might still come out of this. Let's wait and see. It's early days.
Okay.
They've just announced it this week. I think we'll see what the uptake is.
Right.
In terms of the uptake vaccination among undocumented workers. And they sort of have an idea. If they see the uptake is very low, then there must be some better guarantees. Because without everyone willing, or a sizable number of people being vaccinated, it will be a vicious cycle. So I think something good might still come out. I don't want us to see the whole thing as being negative. I think we sort of have to weigh our options, keep fingers crossed, and see how things pan out.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you, man. Thank you very, very much.
Nice one. Thanks for the show. You're brilliant.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Right. Well done.
Thank you. That was fantastic. Denise.
Hey, Phrankleen, how are you?
I'm all right, thanks. Sorry to keep you waiting. So what do you think?
I wouldn't trust it. I'm here in the States, in the divided snakes, as it has been so lovingly coined. I wouldn't trust it. I think it's just a ruse for them to catch people when they couldn't catch them the conventional way with good old-fashioned police work. This is a way of getting those people to come out that they couldn't find on their own when it comes to those who they feel are illegal. Yeah, I wouldn't trust it. They killing two birds with one stone. They removing those who paperwork is not legit, and then they are removing those who they feel are causing the spread. For some reason, they always want to say that it's the blacks. At least over here in the States, we're the ones suffering the most. Let them tell it. From the news reports and the newspaper articles, they're trying to say that African Americans, blacks, we're the ones who are disproportionately affected the most. That's what they're saying here. But it's not, when you look at the obituaries in the newspaper, it's not us that you see, in there. So it's just another way of scaring you to come and get it. My thing is, I've never had a flu shot in my life. I don't allow my children to take the flu shot. And my thing is, if I'm going to get something, let me get it on my own. You're not going to put it into my body and then I still have to fight it anyway. So either way, those who have taken the vax and are trying to encourage others to take it, my question is, you're saying, okay, I feel okay now, but what about the long term? You feel okay today, you might feel okay 2 weeks from now, but what about the long term? Do you even know what's in the stuff? They're putting mercury and all kind of stuff that causes cancer and all kind of other stuff into you in those vaccines. So something that typically takes 10 years from their own mouth, the researchers and the science say that it takes typically 10 years to develop a vaccine, and you got one within 9 months.
I mean,
So,
that's to be honest. I want that there is you've made powerful, very powerful points, you know, which I appreciate, and that's just one of the major things that really concerns me personally, because when you look at how long that it really takes to finalize, you know, making a particular vaccine and stuff, and how swiftly this has come out. Some have argued and said, oh, it's because of the pressure, because they had to move quickly. And it just gets you thinking, though, you know, like, and like you say, you know, again, the only thing is I try as much as possible not to get blinded by speculations. Okay. I like the fact that we're able to think outside the box and, you know, get into these very good thought process and stuff. But at the same time, I wish we can see like verifiable evidences to help, you know, back up our claims. I think that would work well. What do you think?
if they want us to go by scientific, you know, information and studies, you know, scientifically, they can't give us this stuff right now. They can't push this right now because they have not done the clinical trials needed to at least, you know, assure the people that, you know, that it's going to help. You just threw something together, you know, real quick, and you want to push it out and get mad at people because they don't want to take it. And that's just, you know, their fear. And on top of that, I feel it's a money making thing too. The more vax they push, the more money that they get. You know, at the end of the day, if they were so, if they're able to come up with a vaccine for this, why haven't they been able to cure cancer yet? You know, why haven't they been able to cure diabetes and high blood pressure? You know what I'm saying? With everything that they've given us for these diseases and these illnesses have been to keep you comfortable and help you manage it. It doesn't get rid of it. So you taking this vaccine don't mean that you're not going to get it. It's just trying to say it will lower your chance of getting it. So with me, if I'm going to get it, let me get it. Don't shoot it into my system and you know, and God knows what else you're putting in there. So for me, that would be a no. And even with our brothers and sisters over in China, when they were throwing them out on the streets over there, kicking them out their houses and let them into the stores, how many of those brothers and sisters contracted COVID while they was over there? And they was in the middle of it. They was over there in China in the middle of it. And how many of our brothers and sisters got it? So for me, I just think it's a ruse to get, and I wouldn't trust the government, you know, the government to say that they're going to give our brothers and sisters amnesty. I don't trust that because they're known to break all kind of agreements, you know, just like the U.S. from 1778 to 1781. The U.S. government entered to over 500 treaties with the American Indians, and they broke and violated all 500 of them. So what do you think they learned it from? They learned it from their mommy or their daddy, which is the UK. And the UK even itself said they will admit they would break the international law over the Brexit treaty. They admitted they will break international law over the Brexit treaty. So if they're not going to adhere and go by a treaty that they signed with a treaty, what make you think they're going to honor what they say about an amnesty,
Right.
which is going to get a
Denise,
shot?
I appreciate what you're saying, and I believe people are entitled to their own views, and that's what I try to do on my platform. I haven't got anything against it, but I don't want us to slip away from what we're trying to get at, because I can leave this open-ended and we can go on for hours, you know, throwing things. But what I try to do is, whilst I respect, I've got my own views and things like that, is I try my best so that we strike it as constructively, you know, as possible. But the premise of this, what I want us to focus on today, is based on the UK government's, you know, invitation offered to UK's illegal migrants, whom they've asked to come get these, you know, vaccinations, and how is that going to impact them in terms of their immigration standing. That's the premise of, you know, today's discussion. You understand?
Yes, I understand, but that's what I was basing on. If they're not going to, can you trust the government? And the only way you can say you can trust somebody is by past behaviors. So that's what I base it on. It's not nothing that I'm pulling out of out of the sky.
No, I'm not suggesting that you're pulling anything out. I just want to
and that's and I'm that's what I'm basing it on, is that if we can't trust them from past behaviors, you would be more leery to go in, because you say, okay, well, you said you would do this about that situation and you broke that and you broke that and you broke that. How can I then trust you to say, if I come down there, that you won't deport me, that you won't come and and remove me and my family? And it's just a track record. That's all.
All right. Thank you, Denise. I appreciate it. Let me bring on the next person. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Phrankleen.
All right. Kaiser.
Hey, what's up, Phrankleen? How you doing?
I'm all right, brother.
Yeah. So, okay, in this end, no, I do think the UK will keep its end of the bargain. However, the issue here is the contract law, right? Let me explain what I mean.
Talk to me.
They didn't say that we're going to give you amnesty for all future things and other people who might try to come after you. Here's a problem. You go there, they register your name, they take your fingerprints, of course, they'll take your DNA. So once they already have your DNA, what they're going to do, of course, is they're going to systematize it. They're going to put your DNA into a system, into a medical information system. They didn't say we're not going to share this information with any other groups. They just say we are not going to come for you. How they're going to do it, this is how they do it, right? To break contract law is simple. You just find the loopholes. The loopholes are so many in what they've said. I've not read the contract itself, but all they have to do is they say, okay, we won't come for you. That's true, they won't. What they'll do is they'll give that information to another UK organization that will then come for them. They don't have to do it themselves. That's the thing. That's how the UK works. It's different organizations have different rules so that someone else can come for you, but it's not the original person. So what happens is you go there, you get registered, they give you your jab on your hand or whatever. They have to take information, your name, your age, your date of birth, where you're from, all of this information. They will register it into a piece of document, or actually, they are planning to try out this new technology. It's something which I worked on my PhD. It's this radio RFID chip, the radio frequency infrared chip. I'm not saying they're going to try out now, but the information that they take, they will be able to put it onto that kind of system. This is just testing out things that they have already got in check. The technology already exists. It's one of the things I worked on. And all I'm saying here is these people have to be careful. As in, don't do it. Unless you're like 75 years old, whereby you are at risk, and you considered, the statistics. For example, I think our brothers and sisters, we look at this realistically. The chances of you getting sick from getting COVID and it being fatal, if you are under 40 years old, is less than 0.02%. I've looked at the numbers on the world statistics. It's not hidden, it's just there. If you're under 40, it's less than 0.2%. If you're under 18, it's 0.02%. So everyone is not equally likely to suffer the consequences. If you're also a woman, for example, you are also statistically less likely to also die from this disease. The fatality rate for men is higher, 60%, compared to women is 40%. So we have to look at this realistically. If you're a young guy, you're under 50, there's no reason why you should be going around trying to be worrying about one disease. There's malaria, there is typhoid, there's so many things that kill people every year. In fact, last year, malaria killed more people in the world than this thing did. I'm not saying it's not a bad thing. It is a real thing. It is affecting people's lives, but it's not even twice as bad as the flu, meaning it is not a problem for the whole world to be going through this kind of issue like this. It's people in power. I'm guessing it's the people of the older generation. They're trying to protect themselves. That's why they ruined the whole world economy to even... The movements that they made here made no sense. If you really wanted to protect people, all you have to do is say this, right? We will make anyone who's over the age of 60 who wants to self-isolate. Everybody else who wants to work can work. There's nothing wrong there. It builds immunity without having to wait for some vaccine that has not been tested the FDA, you know, the controls for immunizations and drugs requires you to at least go through 6-7 years, realistically 10 on average of testing. This has gone testing for 10 months. 10 months, and with new strains and variations coming out. A, it's not going to be effective. That's one. B, we don't know if it's even safe. They're trying out this new technology using genetic kind of coding. It's just not safe because it's not been tested. This is no conspiracy theory. It's just not safe. And in terms of the you know, undocumented immigrants, I would not suggest you go in there unless you're 80 and you have, you know, underlying health conditions and, you know, etc. I would just leave it, because even I, as you know, as someone with the documentation, wouldn't go there to get this vaccine. So there's no way I would recommend someone who is at risk of losing their, you know, their livelihood from going somewhere.
Let me ask you, Kaiser, let me ask you a question. Thank you for that, man. That's powerful contribution. Let me ask you a question, bro. So, I mean, I know what the possibilities are. This is just me thinking. If the government then go back to their war room, they go back to their drawing board, and then they realize that the uptake of this vaccination is not hitting the levels that they want, right?
Yeah.
And then they then decide, because with all this ongoing lockdown after lockdown, it has a major effect on people's mental health. I'm sure you'd agree. So if they then decide to do this compliance ring fencing, whereby they know that, okay, they look at it this way and say, okay, these people are not they're not taking up these things, but we would like you know, more people to take this up or something like that. And then they say, okay, boom, we wake up tomorrow morning, in order for you to get on the airplanes, you've got to show some kind of, because there's something on the news about a week or so ago where the ex-British Prime Minister, Tony Blair, right? He came out with this announcement. And all this thing, just like you follow the events as well. I don't, you know, these people don't make mistakes. It's not, they don't say things just because they want to. He came into the public domain and said, oh, he thinks the government should give consideration to people having like some kind of a passport for the pandemic, COVID passport. And what that means is, so this is what I'm saying, the compliance ring fencing, if they come out with that, whereby, oh, okay, because they know, like what you said just now, a huge number of people are going to lean back and they're not going to come forward. Yeah?
Yeah. They're
not going to, because they know, because the problem now is the government doesn't want anarchy and all this. People are already going out in numbers and sort of protesting and stuff on the grounds of human rights. The police are doing their best to contain other small groups. And I'm looking at it like people might reach a breaking point whereby there will be a siege or something. So if they then say, we can't get on the plane if you want to go into a bank, you've got to show, you want to go into a restaurant, whereby all this thing is now digitalized. Your passport will be something maybe they can scan and verify. Are you up to date? Are you vaccinated or not? Do you have this? So at that point, and I'm talking hypothetically here, what do you think is going to happen? Are people going to be forced to then go ahead and do it or not?
Right. So it's not as hypothetical as you said. Actually, they already have the technology in check. So, like I said, for my work, I was working on the radio frequency infrared chip. You can actually print them onto anything. You can print them onto your skin, onto clothes, onto plastic. You could basically embed it into any material. And what happens is you can use a technology called thermoelectric energy, which is basically an energy that converts heat energy into electrical energy. So the difference between your body temperature, which is like 37 degrees, and the environment, especially in the UK, is like less than that. All the time is less than that. And right now it's like 0. So that's a huge energy difference. That's what's going to be powering these things. So they're going to be self-sustained powered electronic devices that are going, they're already testing them out on different places. They work really well now. You can store loads of information. And yes, that's exactly what the next step is. This is a perfect opportunity for them to now en masse convince people to take this on. But here's part of the issue. This is how they're going to really do it. Now, you know about the universal credit. they have in the UK. And for people who don't know, it's like a welfare system whereby they'll give you some, change to stay alive. What they'll do next is they'll change the rules for compliance of getting it. If you want to continue getting your universal credit or this new thing they're developing, universal basic income, you have to follow all these rules and regulations that we've created. You have to get your vaccine every 6 months. You have to follow this and that. If you don't follow it, you either lose a big chunk or you lose all of it. I don't know how they're going to structure the contract, but that is 100% the next step that they're going to do. So in terms of the passport thing, I think there's going to be some human rights people are going to say, well, no, as long as we show that we don't have the virus, we can travel. But what they'll do is they'll make it so difficult that many people will just say, I can't take this hassle of having to prove I have to vaccinate or, take the test, the swab test and all these things. So many people at that point, especially the businessmen and the businesswomen, they're going to start thinking, okay, I don't want to take this hassle. Let me just take this vaccination. At least it will free me from all of this kind of inconvenience. And yes, unfortunately, at that point, many people will start to take it. But I also think that there's going to be enough people on the other side who are going to push back, because there is a significant number of people who don't want to be controlled, because the whole point here is we will be controlling your behavior because we have information about everything. I mean, this new technology will have your GPS tracking system. I don't know if they will turn it on. They'll tell you that they're not, but you can't really trust anything. The technology will have that option. So you can't just go around there being nilly-willy thinking, this is safe. So ultimately, yes, I project maybe within 2 years' time. This is nothing to do with conspiracy. I mean, these are all technology that I worked in for my PhD. It already exists. Now they're just thinking of how to implement.
Let me ask you, what's your PhD about?
All right, plastic electronic materials. So it was converting waste plastics into electronic devices and working on printing technologies and, carbon nanotubes, graphenes, this type of technology. Use it for batteries, for electronic energy storage, solar cells, technology, renewable energy, all of that kind of stuff, and information technology. So you can use these plastics to store data, and that's basically what they're going to be using. And in terms of, I think someone says there's no conspiracy, right? I don't deal with that whole conspiracy thing. I only deal with the facts. There's an interpretation there. That's why I say maybe, maybe not, but I definitely don't go down that route of conspiracy. So usually, for example,
Can I just say something quickly? Can I just say something quickly before you carry on? You see, I'm thoroughly aware of conspiracy, theory and what that means. It's also, it's a severely bastardized term, whereby when people are too lazy to indulge in critical thinking, right? And that's not to say everything that every other person is saying, oh, it's definitely 100% correct. But for the most part, when people are too lazy to indulge and go deep into critical thinking and connecting the dots, they just whip out that term to say, oh, conspiracy theorist. We should also be very, that's why we've got this white meat sitting bang in the middle, right inside our skull. So it's there to be used. You're allowed to go deep into it free of charge. So just because you don't understand something, or you don't necessarily have to agree with me or Kaiser or anyone else, but don't be quick to say conspiracy theorists. One thing that I support is if somebody's articulating themselves and saying something, feel free to ask them, critical questions. That we are here to learn. Nobody's an epitome of knowledge, right? If Kaiser tells me something, I might just put it across to him and say, hold on, bro, how did you come about that? Do you have a source? Why is this? That's, you see me asking him questions about his PhD and things like that. That's what it's about. But stop just plastering everything. Oh yeah, conspiracy theorist. Actually, if I'm correct, I think in the United States, the term conspiracy theory was coined when JF Kennedy was assassinated by the FBI, if I'm correct. So, and the only reason why they coined that term was because they desperately wanted to discredit and bring to an end people that were using their brain, that were connecting the dots, that in fact it was the state that might have been, allegedly behind the assassination of JF Kennedy. So now that term found its way into the wider population, and it's gone like Chinese whisper over the years. So most people just say, "Oh, conspiracy theory, conspiracy theory." Why are you saying it?
Most people don't know what that word even means, because first, conspiracies exist, right? A conspiracy is simply when two people or more come together and they plan something. That's it. This happens every day. Hundreds of people come together, they plan something. Sometimes they plan good things, sometimes they plan bad things. When it's a bad thing they plan, you could call it like a conspiracy to do bad things. This happens every day. Governments do it. People, your friends, your family members. You know, like Frankleen's talked about this 100 times on the channel. You know, you've been working, slaving up 5 years, saving up, sending money every month to your family to build a house. They come, they have a family meeting, they conspire to steal your house. That is all a conspiracy. Conspiracy theories. It's a theory of a conspiracy to do something. This whole thing with the lizards and all that stuff, that's just there to confuse people so that they are not critical about what they're hearing. There is nothing wrong with conspiracy theory when you look at it logically. It's a conspiracy. That's all it is. Conspiracies happen every day. So for everyone, check out RFID. You know, you can do a simple Google search what it is. Radio frequency infrared technology. That's what they're going to be using to store this data and information. The technology is there. It's been there for years. You can check out thermoelectric materials. This is how they're going to power these kind of devices. And in terms of where am I getting the ideas where they're going to be doing this? Well, we moved from gold standard economic systems. Now we're moving to digital standard economic systems. This is not, again, it's just fact moving from one place to the next. It's eventually going there because they want more control. They know exactly who's sending what money, who's doing this. Everything is going to be digitized. I just explained some of the methods of the digitization. So yeah, and in terms of but in terms of the undocumented people, I would definitely not recommend any of them turning up. I mean, that's just saying, hey, take my details. Then they'll give their details to another organization somewhere else who will come at middle of the night, knocking at their house, you know, and, you know, giving them all sorts of traumatic experiences. You know, it's not a good experience. So, and yeah, so
that's the premise of you know, me bringing on today's topic. Okay, and again, like I said, I'm a respecter of people's views. I cannot really say, you know, Denise came, she has her views and stuff like that. Kaiser is a good guy, has been here severally. Everyone's got their views. But the premise of today's topic, the reason why I brought this is when I read this, and I'm saying, the government, they have abundance of resources, man. They have bottomless pockets. They control all the databases, right? What's it called? The driving database, the immigration database, the police database, everything is connected. They go deep. In fact, there are extensive evidences in the public domain. You can go and do your own research. There are cases against, you know, because government departments, you know, it's not limited to one. They're multifaceted, different government departments, right? They are known to breach data protection, to carry out, because at the end of the day, when you say government, that's a blanket name. It's human beings like you and I that work in those departments, right? And they are susceptible to, you know, breaking the laws and things like that. So when you have abundance of access to data, you have a lot of power. Who is policing those people? Are we sure that they're not going to abuse their powers? That's what the conversation is about. But you know, some people were saying, "Oh, just go and get it. Just go and get it." But if that brother gets snatched off the pavement, you're going to be keeping warm in your own house.
Yep, exactly. And you know, like you said, Phrankleen, the UK, what they've got an interesting system, right? If you notice that there's corruption that happens here, but it's not because they can't not have corruption, it's because the system allows for corruption, meaning they purposely make sure each government department doesn't know what the other one is doing so that they can leak information and there is no like, oh, you did this, you gave it, we know this. So like they said, this has to be really clear on the contract. Which amnesty is it amnesty for? Is it the whole UK government, including every single this and the mercenaries this? Or is it, oh, the immigration won't come for you? Oh, but then the other group over there, the data, for example, the tax collectors, right? They're the ones who are going to come for you saying, you've been living here for X years, you didn't pay this amount of tax. We're going to put you and deport you for committing a crime. Then we'll put you into this for fraud and then they'll deport you. There are so many ways that they're going to catch you out here. So unless you are literally a 75-year-old man or woman who has diabetes and heart disease, and you feel truly that this is worth the risk of putting yourself forward, I would not recommend it.
Thank you, my man. Kaiser, before you go, please send me an email, bro. I need to bring you back for a separate show. Send me an email, please, to foodchannel1960@gmail.com. Do you have my email address?
Yeah. I'll send you one tonight.
Yeah, please. It's in, if you look in the description of this video, you should find my email address. I want to bring you back for a particular show, bro. Thank you, man. I appreciate you, Kaiser. Thank you, man. Right. That's me done. It's a fantastic session. Like I said, the premise of this is for critical thinking. At the end of the day, all the best to people that want to come out of the woodworks and stuff. I hope all of these pandemic gets to, get out of our way so we can all go back to normal life, hopefully. Yeah. And those that are in the shadow of the system, I hope things play out good for you and things fall in place for you. I hope the universe throw a bunch of goodness in your way and remove every form of complexities and stuff like that. I hope you have a good life. And in the worst case scenario, if it doesn't work on this side of the world, I hope the universe be able to take you to that part of the world where things can fall in your favor. All right. Thank you for coming on here. Listen, for those of you that might be a little bit sinister and have unscrupulous intentions in the background, the premise of this is so we can have these conversations and be able to think outside the box. This is not trying to wage war against anybody or trying to, throw negativity or anybody. I'm a black man, as you can tell. I'm pro-black. That's my new name on the screen. You can call me, let me remove that, Phrankleen, the Emancipator. I'm on my pathway to basically fight the corner for my own kind, my people, bring that voice of advocacy, okay? And it's all nothing but love. And the pro-blackness in me cannot be silenced, cannot be limited. It's all nothing but absolute, undiluted, raw love for the black race, okay? It's your boy, Phrankleen. And I will definitely, most definitely catch you in the very next one. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, House of Cafe, my man, Kaizo, and everybody that has contributed. I appreciate you, and I will definitely catch you in the next one, man. Yeah. Peace and love, all right?